How's it going, everybody? It is your favorite apostates once again. I, of course, am McKay.
And I am Jordan. And my hair is wet.
Oh, yeah. Her hair is damp. We went swimming again today, so it's a good time. Good time at the Jordan and McKay house.
I washed it, and I don't want to dry it, so we're just going to deal with it.
We're just going. And I washed my hair yesterday. With this headband on, it kind of makes me look like a Karen. Not going to lie. Sorry, Karens out there.
We are having hair days, so don't text.
Okay. Well, last time we talked a little bit about our giveaway for 5K, and now that we're already basically at 6K, I think we need to get the show on the road. So the people have spoken. We asked them, the people have spoken. Last I checked, 86% of all the people who had responded.
And a bunch of comments.
Let's see. A lot of, the overwhelming majority of people were wanting the Exmo candles. So out of 650 votes, 84% of people said yes, Exmo Candle Co. bundle, and 16% something else, Jagweeds. So sorry, folks.
There will be more in the future.
The people have spoken. Yeah, we will do more in the future, so don't worry about that. If you got candle allergies or something like that, then obviously that doesn't have to be your prize. We can figure something else out for you. Official rules. You do not have to do anything to enter. All you have to do is comment on this video. You
don't have to do anything, but you have to.
Sorry. You don't have to pay or do anything. Sorry, I'm a dumbass. So, contest rules. In order to enter, you need to leave a comment on this video right here. We will use a random comment selector, plug it in there, and it will pick a random comment at random. Doesn't matter how you comment. You can comment your own thread, start or reply to somebody else's thread. And also, duplicate comments, if you make multiple comments, does not mean multiple entries. This is just going to select a user based on them having commented. So, you must have commented on this video.
And you must be subscribed.
You better be subscribed if you're gonna enter in this. If you think you're gonna just swoop in and get some free awesome candles, then you'd be mistaken. You must comment on the video before next Thursday night when we film this. So I will set the cutoff at 7:00 on June 24th, I believe.
7:00 Mountain Daylight Time.
7:00 Mountain Daylight Time will be the cutoff. If you have not, sorry, too bad, so sad. That's when we'll be picking.
So you have a week.
So you have 1 week
to comment and subscribe.
To comment. Once we do that, we will announce the winner in the video, which should be posted around 2:00 Mountain Time on Friday the 25th. So that's when everybody will find out. We'll just have you reach out to us at our email account, and just a little verification that's who you are will be fantastic. So those are the rules. We'll leave a text version of that in the comments, but you will receive 6 Exmo Candle Co. candles of your choice off of their website. So you can go and pick them out. We will get them and we'll ship them off to you. Maybe we'll write a little letter, thank you for supporting, or something like that. So there you have it, folks. 5K subscribers giveaway. This is just a way for us to show our thanks. We'll put the link to the Exmo Candle Co. store. If you so wish to also support them, then that is your prerogative. We would love that you support them. We think they're awesome and they're very worthy of everybody's business. Also, you can get a little idea ahead of time what you would like. If you do happen to win, you already have something picked out. So, anything else to add, Joe?
No.
Awesome.
Candles are delish. They're worth it.
The candles are delish. We're burning the licked cupcake. These are very small for having 30 to 40 burn.
It's 40 hours of burn time. Which is
so
awesome.
it's really good. I love it. Okay. Well, let's move on to today's subject. As promised, people wanted
Q&A.
People wanted questions, and we have answers. So
we're answering your question.
We're answering your questions. I have a bunch of screenshots here. I'll throw them up on the screen. I'll just shout out the first name of whoever asked them, and we'll go from there. I tried to weed out some of the more easier ones to answer just by responding.
Frequently asked ones we'll
a couple ones
put together.
But yeah, we've done a frequently asked questions to us before, but I think we need to do an updated version of that. Anyway, let's get right to it. I didn't do these in chronological order. I kind of tried to group them a little more by topic. The first one was, how do people in the church feel about the musical Book of Mormon?
We get this question a lot, actually.
Yeah. First of all, we have never seen it.
No. If it comes back to Salt Lake, which I've heard that it might be, if it's not ridiculously expensive, we will absolutely go because I would love to see it. But I know I feel like there's two sides of the spectrum with people who have seen it who are members. They either go and they find it really funny because nobody understands the pains of being a Mormon better than a Mormon.
Yeah.
Or you have the people
They're like,
on
wow,
the other
this is
side.
just so painfully awful.
Yeah. And that I'm aware of at least one person who went not knowing what it was about. I don't know why no one told them. And they ended up walking out fairly quickly. If you've listened to any of the soundtrack or if you've seen it, you would understand why. It is pretty... If you want to understand what the Book of Mormon is about, just listen to the song Hasadiga Iwoi. And you'll know that it's probably not for you, or you think it's fine. It's to your like devout Mormon, the Book of Mormon musical would be extremely offensive.
Extremely offensive. So usually they'll be like, wow, that's like such a bastardization of the Mormon church and everything like that. And then the next thing that they'll tell you about is the campaign that they ran in the playbill when they were in Los Angeles about, wow, you've seen the musical, now read the book. It was kind of like comical. And everybody loves to comment on it because it was so revolutionary. Like, it's
kind of funny, honestly. Yeah. It's like, again, marketing for the church is they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But there's also the little, like, I don't know what you'd call it, old wives' tale that one person was converted from the musical.
So that makes it worth it, y'all. Okay. So there you go. They do not like that musical. It's kind of the same vein as the South Park episode, the Mormon South Park episode.
That one's a little toned down, though.
Yes, because it was aired on TV. So
the musical's like blasphemy and just straight up like they would not be a fan.
It's very harsh.
Oh, I'm reading?
Oh, am I reading? I'm doing the reading? Okay.
No, I can read.
We can trade.
Mormons celebrate Easter or Christmas the same as Christians or Catholics? Birthdays too. Do Mormons have their own holidays they celebrate instead? I have so many questions. Steph, I hope we have so many answers for you.
Yes, they celebrate Easter and they celebrate Christmas because they classify themselves as Christian. Birthdays also. I've never heard of anybody who doesn't celebrate birthdays.
Except Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, I mean in the Mormon church.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays and things like that. They do have Pioneer Day here in Utah. The 24th of July is Pioneer Day, and it is a holiday. So all of the local business, like
banks
every
are closed.
Utah-based business and everything like that, banks and things like that are all closed on Pioneer Day, and they have fireworks and Pioneer. I've never gone to anything like it.
They have parades
but they've got parades
celebrating
and stuff like
Brigham Young and the pioneers arriving in Utah.
So Mormons do celebrate Easter. They also celebrate the pagan version of Christmas. They don't celebrate it on April 6th like they proclaim to know that Jesus was born.
Celebrate it in December just like everybody else.
Just like everybody else. So they're not really weird about stuff like that. But yeah, bonus holiday if you live here in Utah. Next one. Even though the mainstream LDS church has denounced, I think, polygamy, does LDS doctrine teach that people who practiced it historically will reap greater rewards in the afterlife? Is it even talked about within Mormon circles? You didn't leave your name, but that's okay. The mainstream Brighamite sect of the Mormon Church, which is I call it the mainstream sect because they were the pioneers that came out to Salt Lake after the death of Joseph Smith. They have officially denounced polygamy. There is a declaration in the scriptures about how we're no longer practicing polygamy by Lorenzo Snow, I think, or Wilford Woodruff. One of those two.
Wilford Woodruff was, I think, 1890, so I think it would have been Woodruff.
Okay, yeah. So one of those two guys, they were prophet of the church, and they're like, nope, we don't do that anymore, even though they were still doing it in secret. Kind of tapering off. There is no doctrine that I am aware of that says that the more wives you have, the greater the rewards that you will reap in the afterlife.
I mean, if you're a man and you interpret it that way, then
yeah. TK smoothies in the celestial kingdom don't get to have their sexual organs, but people in the celestial kingdom who have married and been sealed in the temple do get to have those.
I don't want to go to the celestial kingdom if it means being with a bunch of polygamous Mormons. Yeah. I'm sorry.
And as we have mentioned in past videos, they do still practice polygamy because a man can be sealed to multiple women as long as only one is alive at a time. The president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon Church, Russell M. Nelson, is sealed to 2 women. So he believes that he will be a afterlife polygamist. So this is still a Mormon doctrine, and they will say, no, we don't practice polygamy, and I understand that you don't practice polygamy like you still kind of the fundamentalists, LDS people do, but you still do. So explain to me why Rusty is married to 2 women if you don't practice, or he's sealed to 2 women if you don't practice polygamy. So there's my 2 cents on that. Yeah, we don't want to be in the celestial kingdom if people are being weird. Next one.
I really hope you talk about personal revelations. I think you meant revelations and the patriarch's job in the church. I don't think we should do a video on our patriarchal blessings.
Yes, we need to.
So basically, when you're in the Mormon church, typically in your early teens, you can, if you are worthy, if you have a temple recommend, you can go and get a patriarchal blessing from the ward patriarch, who basically is responsible for receiving personal revelation on your behalf. And so you go to this man, he puts his hands on your head, and he pronounces this blessing upon you. And it's almost, I think it's like fortune telling. It talks about your future. Basically, it talks about if you're faithful in the church and you continue to be obedient,
the blessings you'll receive.
The blessings you'll receive in the future. So will you get married? Will you have kids? Higher institutions? Will you serve in the temple? Like things like that.
Will you serve a mission?
Yeah.
And it's all very vaguely unspecific about things that Mormons do just generally. And
there's tons of people who have debunked patriarchal blessings. McKay and I actually went to the same patriarch years apart.
Yeah.
And we compared ours, and they're extremely similar.
Other than like gender specific things.
Like the priesthood.
Yeah.
I don't have anything in there about that.
They're very...
Because I have lady parts, so I can't have that.
Yeah, sorry. Vulva means no priesthood. Sorry. So that is revelation that the patriarch has. So just a review, the Mormon Church, a congregation is called a ward. A collection of wards in a geographical location is called a stake. And every stake has one patriarch that serves the whole geographical region. So this
dude is doing blessings for...
Yeah, so all of the youth. So I
go to the same guy.
He's probably doing. When I received my patriarchal blessing, I did it at the same time as my brothers did, my 2 older brothers, and we did 3 in one shot. Good God, we fasted that day. It was like from when I woke up, I didn't eat anything after dinner that night, and we were fasting all the way until like 7 or 8 o'clock. It was dark. By the time we were going home to eat, I was going to die, I thought.
I did not fast.
But anyway, so this all kind of rests on the idea of revelation. And Mormons, the conversion that missionaries encourage is based on the idea that people can receive revelations from God when they pray and things like that. So you can receive personal revelation that the Book of Mormon is true if you read it and pray about it as outlined in the Book of Mormon. Don't do that. It's not true. You can receive personal revelation for family matters. A lot of people believe they've received revelation to make a big move and things like that. And if they felt so impressed, good for them. Do I think it's revelation from God on menial things like that? Not necessarily. Sometimes
trust
you just
your gut, man. It's your intuition.
Gut, yeah. Your intuition is great. Don't discount your inner knowing. Don't discount your intelligence. Human beings are amazing. They can be shitty, but human beings on the whole are amazing. So let's not discount the fact that we are good at intuition and things of the nature. That one was from Laura. Thank you, Laura.
That makeup artist gal, I'm assuming Georgie. I think you follow us on Instagram because I think that's where I recognize your name from.
Holla.
Have you guys considered deconstructing the gospel topics essays and how they differ from what's basically taught in the church as of now? I think your take would be so bingeable. We have thought about that. There is another big Mormon, ex-Mormon human.
Much bigger than us. Well, more notorious. I don't know what.
Way more popular and has way more of a reach than we do. And he is doing something similar right now, I have been told. And so as much as I'd be willing to do that, the gospel topics essays would be a lot of work. And so if somebody's already doing that...
Wow, make us sound lazy.
Okay. If somebody's already putting in the effort and the work to do that, I would rather divert people to them and be like, go watch their content.
Well, and even better, it's being put together by a guy who worked with the church to put out the gospel topics essays.
Yeah. So you're going to get intel
that's
far
much
beyond
more.
What we would be able to give you.
So, yeah.
So once that starts happening, we will keep you posted. It's John DeLynn we're talking about if you haven't
Dr.
figured it
John
out by now.
He's the host of Mormon Stories
podcast. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, Rebecca.
A few questions from Rebecca.
Okay. Do people in the church avoid you?
I don't think so.
I've never experienced anybody avoiding us, but there's
Not
still time. We don't go a lot of places, and it's only been a couple months. Because COVID. Yeah. I would love to think that people recognize us in public, but I know that's not the case. So there's that. How are you planning to get rid of LDS products such as garments that you own, and how? LDS products, there's a lot of stuff that we have. For instance, these scriptures, they were a gift, and I really wouldn't feel comfortable getting rid of them, especially because this is the version of the Book of Mormon that says that the Lamanites are the principal ancestors of the Native American Indians. That's before they changed it to among the ancestors of the Native Americans.
So he already has a copy that wasn't edited in the most recent change.
Yeah. So
I would like to keep it for that reason.
Yeah.
Just because the church likes to hide the fact that they
likes to sweep things
make
under the rug.
Edits and changes and things. And
in a couple decades, people won't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Younger generations won't have ever known that. So
right.
That's nice to have. And it's just kind of like I have these cool scripture case that I got when I was on my mission.
So some of them will literature keep for sentimental reasons.
Yeah, some literature, like the official literature of the church, I don't think we'll throw away, other than like stupid ass lesson manuals.
Yeah, we don't need any of that.
We don't need that.
Garments, I think we'll eventually just throw away.
Yeah, if we're gonna throw them away, I'm gonna make sure to throw them away the wrong way. One day I was like, I'm gonna burn them, but destroying the markings in the garment is part of getting rid of them. So I think we'll just throw them in the garbage. That's just kind of out of spite.
Have you tried alcohol and coffee? Do you like it?
Oh, I love coffee so much. I got a big old Nespresso order delivered today. So I was excited to try all these new different flavors.
I'm not a fan of coffee.
Jordan's not a fan.
I have tried it many times, many different ways, and I cannot seem to find anything that is not gross to me. I have always been a tea person. I can drink black tea like no tomorrow, but coffee's not my thing.
I always offer her to taste something when I get something new, and she never likes it. So she's a trooper in that she will give it the good college try.
Yeah.
So yeah. we both have tried alcohol. Jordan had alcohol a little more than I have in college. I did not try it until very recently, within this last month. I only had a watermelon White Claw and a Coors, and the Coors I was not vibing with. So
I told him it was disgusting.
I gave it the college try.
So
White Claw's fine.
I'm the wrong person to ask. Beer is disgusting. I was traumatized by my experiences in a sorority. Yeah. So there you go.
What are you glad that you don't have to do? In the LDS church?
All of it.
Yeah, the fact that I couldn't.
Callings, time, church, all of it.
Oh yeah, fasting. Let me tell you, even
tithing.
When I was a believing Mormon, I have not fasted. Oh, except for last year during the pandemic. That was the one time that I fasted since my mission, because we would do it the real way, where we would eat lunch, then skip dinner, skip breakfast, and then eat lunch the next day on Sunday. Oh my, I would get headaches every single month doing that. It was the worst. I hated that. So there's another great thing that I will not miss at all. Oh, also drinking coffee, and there's no shame attached to it. It's just, I just love it so much. Kristen, what is the church's view on mental health disorders and treatments like therapy and or medication for mental health? I will yield the time to Jordan on this one.
I like that look. The church has improved their mental health rhetoric over the years. It's still not great. In my opinion, there's still a lot of room for improvement. But it's definitely not like, at least I personally feel like it's not as shameful to say, oh, I go to therapy, or, oh, I'm on medication.
But I think overall that might be kind of the world changing. So
yeah, I feel like that's
Mormons
cultural
to
too.
Be in the world and not of the world.
Yeah, it's still,
that's a good change.
There's still definitely some stigma attached. I would argue that there's probably another level of stigma attached because of Mormonism. But for the most part, I feel like is it something that's discussed?
No.
It's not like a out in the open here everybody's talking about. It depends on your ward. Like, I have been in a relief society once or twice that was really open about things like this, and I've been in wards where this shit was not spoken of whatsoever. So I think it just kind of depends on where you are and kind of the demographic of the people in your area. Also, as far as the mental health disorders and things go, like therapeutic best practices and things that are like research-based, evidence-based things surrounding mental health and treatment don't always align with what the church teaches.
Yep.
And so
there's no exception.
There is kind of
for therapy.
A problematic existence there, because you could be participating in therapy that says, you know, you need to be doing X because this is evidence-based research, peer-reviewed research saying that this is what's healthy for humans, and the church is saying, no, don't do that. And so I don't think the church will ever be like, yes, mental health, let's focus on it, take away the shame, because they can't. It conflicts with their doctrine. It conflicts with their policies.
Yeah. So that's fun, but we're on to the next one. Okay, Patty. Is Mormonism practiced strictly in all parts of the U.S., the world? I live on the East Coast and have met a few Mormon families, but never realized all that was involved in being Mormon. The people I am familiar with do not seem as strict as you describe. However, I am just acquainted with them, not close friends, so maybe they keep much of that part of their life to themselves. I guess the question I'm asking is, does Mormonism get more liberal the further away from Utah you go? When there are fewer Mormons in the population, do they assimilate more and to the society they are in? Holy shit, that was just as a rule of thumb, the more, and this is just a generalization, this is not on a case-by-case basis, the more Orthodox Mormons tend to be those who were born Mormon and grew up. And you find the biggest concentration of that here in Utah, where it's multi-generational family. We have a friend on TikTok She has 6 generations of Mormon in her family on both sides, as far as I know. I have lines in Mormonism that go all the way. I have a blood relative whose name is in the Doctrine and Covenants. And a lot of my family is here in Utah, so a lot of the Mormon orthodoxy is here because everybody's doing it, and everybody has been doing it for generations and generations. Now, it can get a little more diluted when you move away from Utah.
Yeah.
But there is always the people who grew up in Utah who are generational families in Mormonism, and they get transplanted in other places. So it's not to say that you won't find really Orthodox Mormons in other places than Utah.
I think Utah is kind of an interesting social experiment in that there is a huge amount of Mormons here. And obviously this can't be replicated by other religions because other religions are different than Mormons. Yeah. But if you look solely at Utah and the amount of Mormons here and the culture and, the shame and the social values, and it's just, I think, a really good example of how there's a holier than thou sort of experience going on here because there are so many Mormons that it's easy to other people who aren't Mormons, whereas in other states there isn't such a huge concentration of Mormons, so the Mormons are usually the ones being othered.
Yep.
And so that dynamic gets flipped on its head here and in other places, some places in Idaho, some places in Arizona. But I think that is kind of what shifts the cultural thing, because they know the majority of them are Mormon and can act this way, and other people who aren't, they're like, oh, well, you're not Mormon, so you're shitty. Whereas the opposite is happening in other places.
You can't sit with us.
Oh my God, the Mormons are so weird. You know what I mean? So it's just an interesting kind of social experiment.
It's odd. Thanks, Patty, for your very insightful question.
Do Mormon children ever try to reach out to Child Protective Services for help, or would it be impossible for them, whether they wanted to or not? Not trying to imply I would need help like this. It's an interesting question. I don't know if Mormon kids would reach out more than another group.
Yeah.
I know the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints here in Utah are involved quite frequently with Child Protective Services because they're engaging in child abuse. And so that's the fundamentalists who are still practicing polygamy and live in compounds and do not take care of
in a lot of places.
Yeah, and they don't take care of their women or their children. And so they're much more involved with CPS. I think as far as Mormons go, the overall, I feel like the overall consensus is it's better to look like you have it all together even when you don't. And so if things were really, really difficult, I don't know that Mormons would even be willing to reach out for help. And I can't generalize because, everyone's different, but it's an interesting question.
There's a lot there, Becky. Thank you. Lady Catherine, what do you think the Mormon community thinks of members on social media posing in bikinis and other non-modest attire? Well, if you haven't heard yet about the garment check, then here's now. Even I am guilty of it with people that I was serving as a missionary with.
I still do it.
You would look at people and, based on their clothing, judge if they're wearing their magic underwear or not, which they covenanted to do in the temple. Because that's the sign of a good Mormon, is one who submits to allowing the church to choose their underwear for them. So definitely it is a scandalous topic in the ward when somebody is spotted in a bikini.
Two pieces are very much discouraged, especially among the youth. There's lots of conversation around young women going to girls' camp. And they basically get a whole ass discussion about what's appropriate. The boys get nothing, but they get a whole ass thing about what's appropriate to wear. And typically, two pieces, it's kind of brazen. It's kind of bold. In most wards, I feel like if the girls are going to wear a two-piece.
People will talk.
Yeah. But as far as influencers go, if you're talking about influencers on Instagram and shit, I feel like it's pretty common because it's kind of a gray area within the Mormon church because they tell you that you don't have to wear your garments under swimsuits.
Yeah.
So they can.
So if you're swimming, then it's like, well,
there's kind of this little gray area that they can take advantage of.
They couldn't take away your recommend over it.
Do I care? No. Like,
no.
Whoever you are, I empower you to wear a bikini. I don't give a shit. But Mormons definitely care. That's definitely going to be bothersome to some people.
So great question. Ollie asked, why are YouTube families showing their adult kids getting called to do missionary work? Do these adult kids see the rituals yet in the temple, or is it after they serve their mission? How does this work? What's the point of it? Is it done in order to enter into heaven?
Those are good questions.
This is a great question, yeah. It's a huge thing for your child to be a missionary. I actually streamed my mission call opening when I got the little letter.
It's extremely common.
It's a huge deal because this is where you're going to be assigned by God to go and preach the gospel and bring people into the fold. Nobody knows, or they don't talk about how it's literally just an assignment where they need numbers.
But they tell you that they look at somebody looks at your face and they go,
yeah, so
Guatemala.
Maybe someday I will kind of show off that little stream of me opening my mission call. Oh my gosh,
we should do that.
They have not yet seen the rituals in the temple. In most cases, if they're like 18 getting their mission call, they definitely have not yet.
Usually it's not until days before. Right?
Yeah, it's usually not until like right before because it's such a sacred thing and they want you to take it seriously.
They don't want you to know about it before.
I went to the temple 2 weeks before I left on my mission. So yeah, you go out there. You have to have these temple. Somebody else asked about the temple garments, but you have to have the temple garments because it's spiritual protection. They want the missionaries to be protected. It's just funky underwear. It's a reminder of your.
But keep in mind, you've already been called on your mission.
Yeah.
So like he already got called and knew where he was going, and everybody knows where he's going, and then they have you go to the temple.
So I full on think it's a way to keep you in your seat when you're going through this weird ass ceremony, because I overlooked a lot of the weirdness because I was like, this is something I have to do to go on my mission. And if I don't do this, I don't go on my mission. And there's huge social repercussions that follow that. So yes, it is kind of part of how they get into heaven. You need to get to the highest tier of heaven, you need to receive the endowment, go through the temple. So
you don't need to go on a mission to get into heaven.
Not a mission, yeah. There are a lot of people who don't serve missions, and it's
there's a lot of shame.
Been a big shameful thing because for decades, the prophets, the presidents of the church, have taught that every young man needs to be a missionary, serve their part. So, yeah, it's a way to convert people to the gospel,
further indoctrinate you.
But it's more of a way to further indoctrinate you and anchor you in the church because you have this. Okay, so this is a great question from Leanna. You don't really get anything for going on a mission. You get the experience, you get the fanfare of leaving and coming home. One of the only material things that I got from serving my mission is this little plaque. So, yeah, this little plaque hung in the meeting house where my family lives. For the 2 years that I was there. Basically, every missionary gets this. As far as I know, in the United States, every meeting house I've ever been in the United States has these little plaques.
Meeting house is a church building.
Yeah, of these little plaques of the missionaries there. They put like a little outline of the place you're serving in. Like this one has an outline of Honduras, obviously. And then a scripture, like I just picked a random one. I like Googled missionary scriptures because I didn't know what to put on there. I didn't want to look like a square. And then a little picture of you.
I didn't want to look like a square.
Yeah, that was like the only material thing I got. I'm like some paperwork or like certificates that I got from I haven't even like opened that envelope since I had left the mission president's house in Tegucigalpa. Like some like certificates. I don't know. It was lame. But other than that, it's just like bragging rights that you get. On the, I'll let you guys read this one, but on the topic of this family member that is like full-blown Mormon out of the blue. It might have just been I'll just shut up and deal with it kind of situation. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Or they could have been manipulative and offered her something that she was really looking for.
Yeah, it could. It's all love bombing with the missionaries. They're really trying to get you to sell something that you're not necessarily interested in by telling you that you should be interested in it. So it's hard to say. But thank you for the question, Leanna. I just wanted to share that.
Why, hi Margaret, do the apostles skirt the issue about seeing Jesus? Why not just be honest with people? So many other churches have people who remain faithful without ever being lied to. It just feels so manipulative to me, and it's really the only issue I take up with Mormon doctrine because I think it really hurts people. I agree. There is... Who is the prophet that claimed to have seen Jesus in the temple, in the Salt Lake Temple? Do you remember?
Oh, it was one of the older ones, like Heber J. Grant. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
It was one of them. So there have been prophets in the past who have claimed to have seen Jesus. One of them I'm thinking of specifically saw him in the temple. I'm pretty sure it was Jesus,
really
right?
late at night.
Yeah.
Well, I know the story you're talking about. Yeah.
And so the Salt Lake Temple has like almost a level up of holiness because you're in the house that, this said prophet saw Jesus. And so Jesus has literally been in the Salt Lake Temple.
So they claim.
Right? And so that's why there's kind of a lot of special.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like folklore, Mormon folklore surrounding this subject. And everybody knows somebody who was like secretary or assistant to so-and-so apostle. And they said that there were like super blown away after going into a meeting and oh my god, it was probably Jesus. But recently there was an apostle. Do you remember who it was?
It was Dallin H. Oaks, and he was doing
Mr. Dallin H. Oaks,
a youth fireside.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was.
And this question came up, and he said that none of the brethren have ever seen Jesus. So there's no way that he could be lying because that's
literally straight out of his mouth. You can look up the quote on YouTube. Yeah. It's out there.
So maybe some people are like, no, he's just lying for the Lord. No, nobody. Yeah.
There would be no reason
That's not the case. No, but none of them have ever seen Jesus. I know for sure.
Good question.
Great question. I love that.
Why do Mormons cross their arms to pray instead of folding their hands? And we get this question a lot, and I don't have a good answer for you.
Literally, you can Google it. Nobody really knows why.
Nobody knows.
There's like not a straight answer.
What's the number one reason people give?
So you're not, as the little kids aren't
fiddle farting around with their hands.
So
that's the only reason we have.
Literally. And if somebody has an answer,
I'd love to hear it. It's
usually all like contradictory and
cultural
speculation.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they fold their arms.
We don't know.
That's just how I always did it when I was growing up. So Haley asked, you guys have mentioned that your bishop said no toys in the bedroom and that you were expected to keep the undergarments on pretty much all the time. I'm low-key curious if lingerie would be acceptable for a woman to wear for her husband, or if that would be a complete no, or if it would vary by bishop.
It wasn't our bishop, it was our stake president, just so somebody's not like, you said it was your thing. Okay.
For continuity.
But yes, no machinery was the word.
No machinery.
No what
tools.
was the other word? Tools and machinery. And then you are expected to keep them on pretty much all the time. They say you don't have to for sexual activity. There are some crazy ass Mormons that I've heard about there who do.
Like older Mormons.
Like way old, like Mormons in their 90s telling their 20-year-old grandkids, like you do it without your garments on? Like, what? Gross.
Gross.
We also do know some Mormons who would do it and then immediately put their garments back on afterwards.
Also gross.
Don't do that.
Take a shower or something. Jeez.
Like, let it breathe, y'all.
Let it breathe.
If laundry would be acceptable, most Mormons, I feel like, would tell you the church doesn't tell you what to do in the bedroom except for when they do. You can, but it's gonna. If you asked your bishop about something like that, I feel like that would make him uncomfortable. I mean, maybe it wouldn't make him uncomfortable. Maybe he'd like it.
He would. Ooh.
But I feel like the standard Mormon answer would probably be like, what you do in your bedroom is between husband and wife and God. So
yeah. And to answer the last part of that question, it definitely could vary by bishop, because literally everything varies by bishop.
Yep.
There's like very little, this is how it is for every single bishop. It's
True dat.
guidance by the Spirit, the revelation we were talking about earlier.
True dat.
How is your mental health doing now? How are you able to forgive your family for being raised in a cult? Thank you, Norma. I'm in therapy. Jordan, what about you?
I'm in therapy.
Yes, we're
I'm on
doing
medication.
fabulous. Actually, we are doing pretty good.
We take it one step at a time. Some days are easier than others.
Yeah. I will very voluntarily say that I am in the throes of the anger stage of grief. So sometimes I'll just sit there and think about stuff, and I just get not like aggressive, but I get pretty pissed about things. I will admit. How were you able to forgive your family for raising you in a cult? Literally, I'm not allowed to fault them because they were also raised the same way. And that's what they believe is best for us. And as an adult, I don't believe that's the best thing for me. So
does it make me...
I don't resent them.
Like, I can't speak for McKay's parents, but it makes me sad for my mother. And I mean, this is something that I would be comfortable telling her. But it makes me... It's sad because I feel like she's devoting so much of her time and energy and so much, like... so much mental space focused on things like obedience and so much fear-based about Satan and the second coming.
Yeah.
And so it is, I feel like I have a lot of feelings about it, but it does kind of break my heart in a way because, and they're on the other side of the coin, they're looking at us and saying the same thing, just in different context. But
we can infer.
But we can't... Yeah. Like, I can't fault my mom because she was raised the same way a similar way as far as religion goes that I was. And those same manipulation tactics were used on her, and she's been in it for a lot longer than I have.
Yeah, same with my parents. So
good question.
That's a great question that we don't get too often. Other than seeing a therapist, do you have any advice for ex-Mormons that leave the church who still feel at times guilt and shame for leaving? Do you guys ever occasionally feel like, what if I'm wrong?
I think I responded to this one too because I felt like I needed to and wanted to.
Yeah. I didn't notice. Sorry.
That's okay because it's hard to like type out a response to this because there's a lot. Therapy, obviously, number one. I know you said other than seeing a therapist, but I find in my experience those feelings of guilt and shame and those intrusive thoughts that come in like, what if I'm wrong, for me, are based in basically religious OCD and scrupulosity. And the more I work on those things in therapy and in combination with medication, I'm noticing that those things are starting to go away. But I feel like the most important thing is time.
Yeah.
Really.
For me, the things that I've learned about the church are so gross to me, and to be completely honest, that even if we are wrong, I wouldn't care.
Well, and that's the thing is we don't want to be a part of any religion that oppresses the LGBTQ plus community, that continually, that is built on institutional racism, and while trying to rectify some things, are very blatantly not fixing others. Yeah. And so on the whole, I don't feel like, and can like, just, there's nothing about Mormonism, especially in the afterlife, that speaks to me, and there's nothing about it that I want to be a part of. Like, if I can't be with my friends who I love and family members who I love dearly who are part of the LGBTQ plus community because they're going to be down in the celestial kingdom and I'm up in the celestial kingdom because McKay and I got married in the temple, like, I don't want that. Yep. Like, I want to be with our people. And so if that means that we have to be TK smoothies in the celestial kingdom, then that's where we're going.
So be it.
Give yourself some time. Give yourself lots of grace, because this is a grieving process and you're going to bounce all over the place.
Yeah. Susan, are members allowed to be Masons? How do they explain the similarities in the temple? Members are allowed to be Masons. They do not explain the similarities in the temple. I don't know how you could be, honestly. I did not know that the temple ceremony was ripped off of the Masonic ceremonies until the day I decided that I was leaving the church. So how's that for an answer?
As far as explanations go, there are some members who are aware of these similarities, and they would tell you that the Masons had like what God wanted
of it,
but it wasn't fully restored until Joseph Smith took it.
Yeah.
And so Joseph Smith basically made it
whole
and perfect and okay for God. When in reality, he just stole shit from them and
he just ripped it off.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was also a Mason. A lot of the early members of the church were Masons. His dad, brother, etc. Okay, Sarah asks, do you still believe in God after everything? Jordan and I's answers vary a little bit on this one, so I will let her answer and then I will answer.
No, you go first.
Just kidding. I will answer and then she will answer. For me, I am still in the deconstruction process because I'm realizing, and this is part of things that I get angry about when I really ponder the church. A lot of the things that the Mormon church taught me about the nature of God and everything like that have really no basis whatsoever. There's really no way that someone could know the nature of a God. And if they do, what the Mormons say is definitely not it, because you can't describe a omnipotent being as a heavenly parent if they're going to help you when you lose your keys, but allow human suffering en masse outside of the United States and within the United States. So that really ain't it for me. So I'm in the deconstruction process of that. Now, that being said, I am also allowing myself to maybe allow room for thought that maybe if a God exists, they don't care about us. And I'm also not leaving out the possibility that while the chances of us existing are very minuscule, our universe is ever expanding and so large to the point that even a most minuscule probability of something happening is almost sure to happen. So I'm not going to rule out those things. I'm not going to rule out the existence of God, but it's definitely not what the Mormons have told me it is. So, end of rant.
I think the best answer, honestly, for this question for the both of us is kind of.
Kind of.
Because we both kind of have different thoughts on this. I've been more of a kind of a woo-woo, if you will.
A woo-woo.
My whole life. And I've had experiences. My grandmother is a tried and true medium. And based on just what I've experienced with her, and my own personal experiences, to me, I am convinced that there is an afterlife. I don't think that necessarily has to be ruled by a God. I don't think that necessarily has to be ruled by a person or a being or a deity. But I do know at least that much, and I feel like, we will see people that we've lost again, just based on the connections and what I've seen with my grandmother and things. And so I feel like I have a solid belief in that. I know some people don't, and that's okay. But I'm more just my therapist is really great about this. I'm more just being willing to sit with the fact that, like, I was literally just talking with my therapist about this today. I was like, I've deconstructed Mormonism, I think, to the point that I want to.
Yeah.
And there's still lies, the Bible and Christianity and like the teachings of Jesus and all of those things. And I plainly don't want to deconstruct those things because I don't think I can take any more at this point. And I know that's kind of a lot of people won't agree with that choice, but I have to be okay right now with sitting in ambiguity and recognizing that, you know, I don't think humans have all the answers. I don't think we have a hold on what God is, if there is one.
Yeah.
I think all organized religions, including Christianity in a lot of contexts, put limits on something that is limitless. We're trying to box something and fit it into our nice little fine categories as humans because we like that. And that's not how it works.
Yeah. If there is a higher power that is omnipotent and omniscient and things like that, I would not expect that to be describable by humans. Our understanding should be far less than that of a being like that. So, I don't know. Just my 2 cents. If that makes people not want to listen to us anymore,
and that's
so
why
be it. But
I hesitate to share things like this because while my spiritual journey is extremely personal to me, and I haven't even I've given you guys the tip of the iceberg barely with this, because I'm very careful about what I share because it's personal. But I feel like a lot of times people ask this question, and I'm not saying that Sarah's doing this by any means, but I feel like a lot of times people ask this question because they're like, oh, are they atheists now?
Can I still listen to them?
Can I still listen to them? Do they still believe in God? And I hate that. I absolutely hate that. So no, we're not atheists. We don't really know what we are.
Yeah.
And if
agnostic,
sure,
I'm fine with that.
And we don't need to know, and you don't need to know. And so if us not knowing makes you uncomfortable, then this might not be the content for you. But I would encourage to maybe turn inward and look inward to why our ambiguity with a higher power is so uncomfortable for you.
Yeah. So we'll leave you with that. And we'll leave you with this final question, which is the weirdest one that I heard. Angel Mom asked, my question is, does the Mormon church say that there should be a family bed? This has messed with my head since a person who is Mormon told me this.
Oh my God, that would mess with my head if somebody told me.
I really hope not. Because how are you supposed to get it on to have more kids if your other kids are in the bed? That's gross. Although I don't think that would be very far-fetched. This is not a Mormon thing.
I mean,
I wish it were so we could clown on it, but
I have never heard this.
I've never heard this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
And I hope this person was joking.
I really do too.
Because that is the most horrifying thing I've ever heard in my life.
Do not like that whatsoever. So we got through a bunch of questions. There are probably some we missed. This won't be the only Q&A video that we're doing.
Yeah.
So if questions come up along the way, just add them.
Yeah, I think maybe I'll start a new thread or something. Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
But yeah, just for time's sake, because I know a lot of people don't want to listen to an hour, we'll end it there. You've got your instructions.
To enter the giveaway for the Exmo candles, don't forget.
Yes, this is the giveaway for the 5K subs. Thank you, every single one of you who got us to this point, because honestly, you are all the real heroes. We're just the people who are sitting on our asses talking in front of mics, just rambling about the Mormon church and weird-ass, fundy purity culture shit. So, thank you all to you beautiful people, you beautiful potential apostates. I don't know. Thank you for getting us there. Thank you to the people who have supported us on our Ko-Fi. We've gotten a couple donations this week.
We really appreciate that.
So we think that's really awesome. It does take a lot of time to put these videos together. I spend a couple hours at least on each video editing to get you the cute little...
And we take...
And your little... Hit him with the eye roll. So...
Yeah.
There you go.
I will say some people complain about, things in the video frequently popping up. And I will say, just understand that this takes us a lot of time and energy. And so, and we take, like, this is out of our time that we have independent of our son, which is very, very valuable to us. And so having, like, doing this is a lot of time and effort and takes out of that time that we have to get other things done. So you guys just being here and supporting us, we, like, super deeply appreciate.
Oh, yeah. So if you, we know nobody likes ads, but
here we are.
Here we are. Sorry. That's just how it is. So thank you if you watch these and you endure, you push through the shit to get to the little teeny tiny gold nugget that we have to offer. But thank you.
The golden plates.
The little teeny tiny gold plates that never existed.
If you don't follow us on social media, go follow us on Instagram. I post on there every day, and Jordan, I ask questions like about YouTube content and stuff, and like questions and things and polls and shit. So go follow us on there if you haven't.
Yeah, Jordan be running all that. She runs the Instagram. She's primarily doing the TikTok now. I'm usually doing something else, setting up for a video or whatever when she's doing them. So follow us on both of those if you so please. At Jordan and McKay for both. You can find us on Venmo at Jordan and McKay. You can check out our Teespring, which we're I'm not gonna say it because I say it every GD
we promise
video.
It's coming. So it just takes time.
But once again, thank you everybody for watching, and we will catch you next time.
We appreciate you.